In this part of the notes, we're going to practice translating some of those phrases and sentences into math symbols. So let's first go over some of the key words that we're talking about. So in our one-step translations, we see the 4 key words that we're going to be looking for in all of our translations. So sum means addition, difference means subtraction, product means multiplication, and again remember I'm using the dot instead of our x, and quotient means division. Now we're also going to actually be writing our quotient. We want to be writing it as a fraction. Okay, so not using the actual division sign. Moving on, let's look at number 1, the sum of a number and 5. The key word in this is the and. That is where we're going to put our math symbol. Okay, so we're going to put the number, we're going to use x as our number, and goes in the middle of the 2 numbers, and then we're going to put our 5 at the other end. So a sum of our number and 5 is how we write it as x plus 5. Then, moving on, we have the difference between a number and, or between 10 and a number. So that means our minus sign is going to go between 10 and our number x. Okay? The product of 7 and a number, we're going to write 7 times x. Now we also will sometimes see this just as 7x, which is totally fine. You'll see that most commonly as 7x. And now we have the quotient of a number and 6. So, and is where our division bar now is going to go, and we're going to write this as x divided by 6 using fraction form. Moving on to our 2-step translations, we have a couple different phrases here that we're going to translate. We're always going to look for those key words. So here we have 3 less than twice a number. We know that twice a number, that goes together. Twice a number. So 2 times a number means we have 2x. Okay? Now we have 3 less than. Many of you will think that means 3 minus 2x. But let's think about this. If we have 3 less than the number 10, we get 7. So 10 minus 3 gives us 7. So when we have this phrase 3 less than, we have to write minus 3 after whatever it is we're talking about. In the next problem, we have 7 times the sum of a number and 8. Now notice, from above, the word sum is one of our key words. We're always going to do one of these 4 key words that we talked about. We're going to do those first. Okay, so the sum of a number, x, plus 8, sum of our number and 8, and we're going to take 7 times this whole quantity. Okay, quantity, we're going to use these parentheses. Okay, so 7 times the sum of x plus 8 is written in this way. Next, we have the product, another one of our keywords, of 5 and a number. So 5x is decreased by 11. Now if we're decreasing something, we're going to be subtracting. Decreased by 11. Now some of these seem a little bit difficult, but the more we practice them, the better we'll get. Let's move on to translating an equation. Now remember, an equation means we're going to have an equal sign. So let's take a look at the first one. 3 times a number equals 18. This one is kind of straightforward. We're going to do 3 times a number, so 3 times a number x, 3x, is going to equal 18. Not too bad. But here, let's move on to the next one. This one has a little bit trickier of a feel. The quotient is another one of our key words. That's our division. We're going to write a fraction for that. Of a number and 6 is increased by 3 is 10. So if we have our quotient of a number and 6, just like what we did up here, quotient of a number in 6, is increased by 3. So notice what we did with our decreased by, we subtracted 11. Now we are going to add 3, increased by 3, is 10. Now notice, is translates to an equal sign. So x divided by 6 plus 3 equals 10 is how we write this. Lastly, let's try this tricky multi-step translation. This one's got a lot of different pieces with it and 2 variables, so this one's going to take some time. We're going to be talking about half a number x decreased by the product of the number y and 13 is 25. Yikes. But if we go back, we see product is one of our key words. We're going to be talking about the product of a number y and 13. So y times 13. Well, normally we write that as 13y. Then let's take a look. The next part is 25. Well, that's going to be our equals 25. That's not too tricky. The tricky part comes at the very beginning of this. So let's take a look at this. Half of a number x decreased by. So half a number x, we're going to take 1/2 of the number x. Now remember, of we said could either be multiplication or division. Well, in this case, if we're taking half of a number, we're going to use our multiplication symbol. So it's 1/2 times x, and we're going to be decreasing by, so that's going to be our subtraction, 13y equals 25. Great job on this one. So now let's try and do a couple word problems. These ones will most likely be just those 1 and 2 step translations, though they might have an equal sign. Okay, so here let's take a look. Rich is 3 years older than Dave, who is D years. So if Rich, we're talking about Rich, he's 3 years older, well, I'm going to take Dave's age, D, and add 3. So plus 3. In part B, we're going to write an expression for the sum of their ages. That means we're going to add their 2 ages together. Well, we know that Dave is D, so this is for Dave. And the sum, we're going to add Rich's age. So that's the D plus 3, which then means we get 1D plus 1D equals 2D plus 3. That's the answer for the sum of their ages. In number 2, Betty has 56 flowers growing in her backyard garden. If she has T number of tulips, R number of roses, and D number of daffodils, we want an equation representing this information. So that means that she has a total of 56 flowers. So we're going to add them all up. She has tulips plus roses plus D daffodils is going to equal our 56 flowers. And lastly, number 3, the length L of a rectangle is twice the width. So the length L is twice the width. This one's a little bit tricky. We want to write an expression representing the perimeter of this rectangle. So let's draw a picture. If we have a rectangle, and we normally have that the width is here, and we know that the length is here, well, now, instead of writing a length, we're going to write 2 times W and 2 times W. So if I add up all of these, the perimeter is going to equal 1W plus 2W is 3W plus another W, 4W, plus the last 2W is 6W. So the perimeter equals 6W. And that is our expression or equation there.